musicians who continue to tirelessly champion this book, especially Jerry Allen, Randy Weston, Bill Douglas, Chick Corea, Larry Williams, and Eric Reed, whose new CD, Dancin' Monk, beautifully captures the spirit of this American original. The memories people shared confirmed what my book demonstrates. Thelonious Monk was a complicated, intelligent human being who could be warm and generous at times and incredibly difficult. Those who knew him said they not only recognized the real Thelonious in this book, but also acknowledged the central role family played in his life. And yet I've also had several exchanges with people who, after learning I'd written a book on Monk, proceeded to recount incidents of bizarre and outrageous behavior, invariably concluding with, "That was Monk." Such stories are rarely first-hand accounts. Indeed, in the telling they often take on the structure of a joke. "Did you hear the one when Monk—" These legendary episodes, some of which I allude to in the book, are often apocryphal. Unfortunately, their pervasiveness has led some readers and a few critics to misinterpret my efforts to peel back the legends in order to reveal the truth. Contrary to some critics' assertions, the book does not dismiss or ignore Monk's unusual behavior, nor does it avoid the toxic territory of drug and alcohol abuse. Rather, I put Monk's eccentricities in context, suggesting that some behaviors were deliberate, a facade meant to protect his privacy, part of his stagecraft, an expression of humor, or an act of resistance to what he perceived to be exploitative club owners or promoters. In some instances, his behavior was a sign of mental illness, or he might have been inebriated or dealing with an emotional crisis. The point is that each case needs to be understood situationally, not as some general condition or attitude. For me, the more interesting revelation was just how hard he worked. Throughout his 40-year career, he made most of his gigs, and when it was time to play, he delivered incredibly focused and inventive music. But gigs without incident don't usually make for good Monk lore. In fact, a few people complained of being overwhelmed by Monk's exhausting schedule. But then again, Monk himself was often overwhelmed, which is precisely the point. I wanted non-musicians to understand what every jazz musician knows, that making it in this business is incredibly hard work. Knowing the dizzying number of gigs he played, experiencing the financial stresses and strains, witnessing the daily emotional ups and downs helps explain those moments when exhaustion and fatigue kept him off the bandstand and, occasionally, drove him to the hospital. Yet, as exhausting as Monk's story may seem at times, it is also thrilling and tragic, funny and beautiful. Just like his music, his life cannot be skimmed or rushed through. As Monk himself once told his sidemen during a rehearsal, "Everybody don't have to be showing how fast they can read. Take one bar." One bar indeed. When listening to Monk, every note counts. Every moment is electric. He made music and lived a life that resists neat sound bites or samples, and thus sits uncomfortably in a contemporary culture built for speed and distillation. So if you're coming to this book for the first time, or discovering Monk's music, I urge you to slow down. Listen. Reflect. Savor every sound and every word. If you are willing to follow his path from the opening bar to the final cadence, I can assure you that patience will be rewarded. Prelude. I have a choice here between writing about Monk as he is, or as he seems to be, and is generally thought to be. There isn't any great difficulty about it, because both sides are fertile ground. The stories merely differ in plausibility. Critic Paul Bacon, 1949. Bennetta Smith, known affectionately as Teenie, loved to visit her Aunt Nellie and Uncle Thelonious. For a kid growing up in the late 50s and early 60s, the Monks' tiny ground-floor apartment at 243 West 63rd Street must have seemed almost carnivalesque. Uncle Thelonious sat at the piano, turning Christmas carols into Monk originals, or holding forth with a string of friendly put-downs or challenging questions about the ways of the world. Aunt Nellie chatted away, sometimes entertaining the kids with wild and wonderful stories, sometimes cursing booking agents, managers, and anyone else who took advantage of her dear husband. sometimes gently scolding one of her nieces not to.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.